When people ask me, what does raw squirrel mean? Raw squirrel means indifferent, imperfect, uh, out of the ordinary. Everything is raw squirrel. Actually, the term raw squirrel came from the Richmond City Jail. Um, when guys used to get arrested and they would go to get uh, their uniforms from the jail, excuse me, and they didn't have on underwear, and you sitting in the bullpen or whatever, and you can see people get changed. They be like, "God, oh man, he raw squirrel. He ain't got no underwear on." Or if you have sex with a girl without a condom, or she have sex with a guy without a condom, you had sex raw squirrel. You see somebody with a haircut look like they just put a bowl over their head and faded the sides without the blend. That's raw squirrel. I mean, everything is raw squirrel. Um, so I decided to name my clothing line Raw Squirrel because I am imperfect. Raw Squirrel clothing is imperfect clothing, handmade to perfection. I don't design my clothes to be perfect. If you see something, you'll probably see it's, twisted to the side a little bit, but it's hand stitched and it's sweet. I mean, if you look at this guy right here, see this guy right here? That's hand stitch. That's stitched. That's not ironed on. And you look at this guy right here, you can notice a difference. This guy doesn't have a back, and this guy does. I mean, this guy has a spine. This one doesn't have a spine. That guy doesn't have a spine because he has this guy's spine. And the caption says, "Hey man, I got your back." And he literally has his friend's back. That's his stick man. Um, for people who, and I usually don't do this, but for people who think that, they're like, oh man, one thing got no views because this page only has about 50,000 views. Hit the number one King Wanza. This page is ONEKINGWANZA. But hit the number one King Wanza and check that out. 10,000 videos sitting on that page and 1,500 on this one. It's Raw Squirrel clothing, man. Just some of the stuff I got. The microfiber, the skull on it. That's hand stitched with the gold stitching. I don't know if y'all can see that. See the back. Has my name on it like most of my stuff. Raw Squirrel clothing. Man, I got stuff for days, man. It's another one, Raw Squirrel clothing, microfiber jump. Skeleton playing a guitar. He's playing a guitar. That's sweet. Raw Squirrel clothing. Everything, man. I got everything. I hand make my own products. I created my own lane. See that? The bucket. You know what I'm saying? Raw Squirrel clothing. Jawanza Smith. That's my name. The King Wanza. Raw Squirrel clothing. Raw Squirrel clothing. Jawanza Smith. That's stitched on there. That's not drawn. That's hand stitched on there. Raw Squirrel clothing. Raw Squirrel clothing. That's stitched. This bug juice right here. My hit multi-purpose cleaner. I did that with a sewing machine when I first started making clothes. You see my initials, JS. All that stitched on there. This is my wife's hat. It says King Wanza. It's another hat. It's mine. It says King Wanza. This one says King Wanza. You see the jogging suit, the skull. That's hand stitched. I don't know if y'all can see that. That's hand stitched skull on there. You see that? Then you got the sweats to match. Check out Baby Happy. Right here, Baby Happy. Raw Squirrel clothing. He hand stitched on there. And on the back, it says, "They're laughing at you." It's hand stitched. I got everything, man. Raw Squirrel clothing. Imperfect clothing, handmade to perfection. For the wintertime. I got hoodies, I got thermals, you name it, I got it. Sweaters. If you want to go casual. You want to go casual. See this sweater. Let the stitching hang out so you can see the different colors in there. Thermal. You know, it's heartless stick man. He ain't got no heart. You know what I mean? Raw Squirrel clothing. Man, just got stuff everywhere, man. Got like the turtleneck sweaters. I mean, everything you can imagine. And I usually rock this with the sweatsuit I have on. Cause like I said, it got the skulls on it. See the skull on it. This one got the skull to match. I usually rock that with this, with my Air Max. Keep my thread in here. You know, I do all 100% of my own stuff. I'm about to put Raw Squirrel back on the market. I took it off the market for a while. This bag is full of thread. I got the small spool, big spools. I got all colors. Everybody know I got 10 movies out, documentaries. See if I can find a few for y'all. All of them are at least 2 hours long. Joint right there, Save Our Children. Yes, We Can Recover, Part 1. Touring Philly. It's a 2.5 hour movie. Me touring Philly. I got my clothes in boutiques in Philly. This Touring Philly Part 2. You can see that. It's my Strange Matter performance. You know, I do the comedy rap, so you know, I have a lot of products, and you know, just getting things together. This bag right here, the Bob Marley bag, is Raw Squirrel clothing. See a stitch right there. What else? Right there, hand stitch, imperfect clothing, handmade to perfection. Raw Squirrel clothing, man. I don't buy clothes, I make them. So, Raw Squirrel clothing, man. Imperfect clothing, handmade to perfection. Everything is Raw Squirrel. Everything is Raw Squirrel. You are Raw Squirrel, but I am literally Raw Squirrel. And I stay Raw Squirrel. You know. Let me show y'all this. This is how you know I'm Raw Squirrel. I don't am my Raw Squirrel when I'm fully dressed, but keep it on my back. Got the tat on my back. Y'all see that? Raw Squirrel clothing. So I literally and figuratively branded myself. And like with all Raw Squirrel clothing items, let me show you this. This is one thing you get with Raw Squirrel that nobody else has. All right, now look at that. All right, Raw Squirrel clothing. See that guy? See that guy? He doesn't have a back. That's because he's holding his back. This is hand stitched. And the caption says, "Hey man, I got your back." He's holding his back. Okay, watch this. That's the outside of the shirt, right? Now you can literally rock this shirt inside out, and you can see the time, the quality, and the technique it took to make this shirt. It's hand stitched. Look at that. Imperfect clothing, handmade to perfection. Raw Squirrel clothing. Your boy wanted it done. YouTube King. Raw Squirrel go back on the market, and my clothes are high because one, I take a lot of time to make them, and two, I'm the hottest guy in the game making clothes. Your boy wanted it done. YouTube King. I sit here, I work online, and I mind my own business. Ones that are done, YouTube King. Holla at me.